I'm going to be speaking with you today about student-led course design. But what I really feel that my job today is, or my mission, since we're nearing the end of the conference and we've had lunch and a lot of excitement, is if I can keep you awake and at least somewhat interested, we're good to go. So as I mentioned before, Robin Bagent, and I'm from College of Southern Idaho, where I teach business classes, business management and entrepreneurship. And I'm in Twin Falls, Idaho. So where is that? No kidding. There we are. It's a cool place. Well, technically, we're kind of between Boise, well, not kind of, we're between Boise and Salt Lake. So you've probably heard of one of those towns, if nothing else. We are known for a couple of things. Niagara of the West. So we have this big, huge waterfall that runs into the Snake River. It's kind of cool. And then we have a bridge that people jump off of, base jumping year-round. Most of them survive. So it's fun to watch, place bets. And cut that part out. And I work on a great campus with wonderful people, so it's really cool. They let me play. That's one of the most important things, is my administration encourages me to try things that are new and different. My students aren't always happy with that idea, but they usually get on board and go, yeah, that was kind of fun, or that was fun. And because business is complicated, it's important for them to know that they need to be comfortable with success and failure, because they're going to have success and failure. They're going to get burned at some point, so they need to know how to move beyond that within the program. There's a lot of areas that we study within the business program, and I tend to throw a lot of them at the same time, so that they have that feeling of being absolutely overwhelmed. Because I want them to be able to make that next leap and start seeing where those connections are. Start seeing how things come together as a whole. And that way they don't want to cry. That's bad. So what I started doing, even though I'm a control freak, is I started piecing together little bits of different courses to give students control. Yeah, that went well. My favorite, just tell me what I need to do to get an A. Yeah. So I ignored them, because I can. It's kind of fun. They pay me to torture students. It's the best job in the world. And in my small business management class was the first class I started giving them more control. Instead of a list of assignments, they had modules that they were working on. Canvas made it so easy because I could have everything due at the end of 3 weeks, 5 different modules, and they were able to just jump from module to module. It was up to them to figure out how to do the individual work. They had to fit it into their schedule around other classes, around other jobs, family, other commitments. But it was up to them to get it done by the deadline, no extensions. The first module, about 70% of students fail. So I set that up with a lot less points. But they learn that procrastination doesn't work for them. They have to be able to schedule things in. They have team assignments. The first team assignment, they have to develop a training with their team members on whatever they want. We've had really fun things. How to change a tire, how to make crepes. Runs the gambit. Unfortunately, with the crepes, we ended up with a fire, but that's a whole nother story. Then toward the end of the term, instead of giving them yet another research paper that had groans, I had the students come up with their own project. You don't want to do the project I gave you? Great. Come up with something else. The requirement was it had to involve at least a total of 7 hours for your team. That was the criteria. And you had to be able to demonstrate that hourly commitment. So you had to be able to break that down, what you did, so that I had something to be able to show for their work. The average number of hours students spent on their projects doubled or even tripled. They were creating websites. They were creating games. I had a student in the online class. She and her team got together and they created models. So this 3D model of how you should set up a presentation area if you were going to be at a conference. And they had a script for how they would present their product. I mean, they went above and beyond anything I would have assigned. And grading, please God, don't make me read another paper. It was fun. It was so much fun. I could hardly wait to see what the next group was submitting. And that was nice. So I decided, okay, that was cool. I'm still employed. That's a good sign. So let's take it to another class. And I used project management. Within there, the students design their own product or projects. They've done promotional videos. The most recent one was our campus QR code tour. And the link to the tour is there, and the link to one of their promotional videos is there as well. Oops, sorry. Okay, let's move forward. Now, that wasn't a single term event. That was 3-term long project, and it involved multiple departments on campus. It involved working with the community, and it involved multiple classes in my program. It worked out so great. The students started off with needs assessment. Well, that didn't work so well. Okay, the next one says, develop QR code tour. And the final one says, market QR code tour. So in the first term, students didn't know what they wanted to do as a project. So they interviewed about 400 students online and on campus. Where did those students see weaknesses? And one of the biggest challenges was that students didn't feel that signage was adequate across campus. But they didn't want things destroying how pretty our campus is. So we were able to develop the QR code tour at their suggestion. I applied to the administration for a small grant. The next term, developed the QR code tour in the project management class. The marketing class developed a soft market plan or plan development to be able to launch the soft version to faculty and staff. And then the spring students did a marketing plan to launch to the community. And the project management students increased the number of QR codes that we had on campus and the detail involved. So it was a great project that the students wanted to do because they knew it would help other students long term. Worked out great. So I took it to another level. What would happen if the students developed the course themselves? And this was while they were developing the QR code tour. So I put a quick outline in place in Canvas as a time saver. And then I did a 10-minute overview, the second class of the term. So the first class was introductions, syllabi, all that garbage. Then in the second class, we had a 10-minute overview for how to use Canvas. My goal was to be able to force them to come to me with questions. I didn't want to give them step-by-step instructions. I wanted them to realize that in the working world, you are most likely going to be given the bare bones of what you need to accomplish, and then make it work. One problem. Canvas was so intuitive, 10 minutes was all they needed. So, no, they didn't have any questions. So that was one small detail. But I asked for a student volunteer to come up, walk them through how to do these different tasks, the calendar, drag and drop for modules, things like that. That person then became the first project lead. And it worked out nicely because usually one of the more comfortable students usually volunteers the first day. In that outline, I just created one module. I had the list of textbook chapter titles because they needed to be responsible to read the textbook. They had the quizzes because I knew what I wanted to assess, so that was not open, but how they chose to do it was up to them. And then they had a couple of individual projects so that I could judge that individually they knew what I needed them to know at the end of the class. So one project was setting up a multi-departmental meeting that included ordering parking and lunch. So they had to handle all those logistics while they were setting up the different pieces. The second project was a multi-room computer lab update where you have to show budget and number of hours employees are working when they have limited schedules. So just a few things thrown at them. Then I said, go. You guys decide how you're going to do it. Their first assignment as a class, come up with a team name. That was funny. Anybody ever work with a large group as a single team? You always have the same result, and I was counting on it. Crash and burn. So they came to the conclusion, without my telling them, wow, large teams suck. They decided they wanted multiple smaller teams or sub-teams that work together on different pieces. Even though they may not know what those pieces are yet, they knew what they wanted to accomplish. Throughout the term, we used the discussions either online or in class, because I did it both ways, to be able to dig deeper into the topics or to explain something that wasn't quite clear. A lot of the times, I had the student sub-team lead the discussion. So they had to bring in supplemental material to be able to talk about specific topics related to what we were studying. And if they forgot, they got to do it in class while everyone watched. I only had one team forget, and that was their first time. From that point on, everyone was prepared. So that was another fun thing. And then they had specific deliverables that I let them know that they would have to do. Success or fail, they were presenting their results for their project at the end of the term to college administrators, including the president, and community leaders. So they were a little nervous. So was I. Please don't fail. Please succeed. They did. They knocked it out of the park. So they decided the first half of the course, they just wanted to focus on the textbook. Okay, that's fine with me. They decided, second part, they wanted to be all the projects. Cool. They didn't want chapter quizzes. They just wanted a midterm that was on the textbook and a final exam that consisted of their oral presentation to the community leaders and the administration, and a white paper that they submitted to me that was a review of their project and the process that they went through for success and failure as a team and through the steps of project management. That was funny. Anyway, then in the end, we had the project close, and I do that for every class. The last class is what went well, what didn't go well, and that wonderful thing of employee review and annual review. Well, I have my students review my performance. Not my happiest moment. Makes me very nervous. But I use what they share with me, and I include how I'm going to improve the next time in their class so that they see what's going to change as a result of their input. And I let them know that not all of their suggestions will be taken. One, as an example, a young lady said, "You're, YR, too hard on our grammar." And she misspelled the word grammar. And I let her know that if you want to be taken seriously, it's called a complete sentence. The letter U does not substitute for YOU. Periods are your friend, things like that. So, working together. But that's the structure that they decided on. Some of it went beautifully. Some of it didn't go quite as well as I had hoped, but they learned through the process. If you don't have chapter quizzes and all you have is a midterm, it ends up being about 3 hours long. And most of the students crashed and burned because they hadn't applied what they had learned in the textbook to a real-world scenario, so it didn't connect for them. So having that second half, they had to reread the book so that they were able to do the projects and have it connect. And then they were able to redo that textbook portion at the end of the course, and of course everyone passed and did really well because they understood. And then the other thing that I did that first week is I put in the groups area, then there's subgroups, individual assignments so that I would know that they understood how to use the tools in the group area. When they were in the classroom for the face-to-face section, they used the Instructure terminal, and it was set with mine, and they just knew that they weren't allowed to go to the grades area, and please don't give yourself an A. In the online, students, we had an opening meeting for those that were able to attend. It's an asynchronous class, so about half the class was able to attend virtually. If you weren't able to attend virtually, you were encouraged to provide input via the discussion board, and then all of that would be taken into consideration in the course design. And they worked together. They were a little bit more step by step. They incorporated the chapters and the text and everything in the projects as they went along. So they were a little bit more logical. But then my online students tend to be a little older, so that worked out. Announcements. Hey, I'm here. Page, they shared a little bit about their personality, hobbies, whatever they wanted others to know. File, a picture of what they wanted to post so that I knew they knew how to use it. In discussion, what background do you have in project management, or do you have any? Oh, one other thing in this. Oh, don't point, she said. They had to track everything in Canvas, everything. They started off with a team charter. I don't know how many of you use those, but they are phenomenal. It plays the bad guy, it plays the bad cop. You have agreed that you will attend meetings. You have agreed you will play nice with others in the sandbox. You have agreed. So what they feel is important, they line out and they set. Then everyone signs, and you're good to go, for the most part. Then if they held a team meeting and they wanted to do it in person, I even had online students do some of their meetings in person sometimes, depending upon how far away they were, or they did it virtually or whatever. They did it asynchronously. However their meetings were done, they took notes, including who attended, when it started, when it stopped. And we talk about the fact that any of the materials could be subpoenaed in court. Not necessarily for our class, although I suppose it could happen, but in the workplace, you need to pay attention to that detail. So by having them make sure that everything's in there, they're learning those habits. Started off with the project lead from that first person I pulled up. Then that person stepped into the lead position. That person had someone else step in as the tracker, who was basically the secretary, and did all of the team updates, page updates, anything we were doing in class that they needed to be able to track ongoing. Have we met that benchmark? What do we need to do next? All of those things, as the team lead guided them forward. And then the project lead would step back as a team member. The tracker would step into the lead position. So as they completed each one of their benchmarks that they set, they would transition to that next leader, hoping to get through the majority of class members by the time we were done. So as I mentioned before, that's where we started. I was very nervous how it would go, but here's how it ended. The mom that called me, she is a project manager at one of our food manufacturing companies, and she said, "Yes! You dumped them in the deep end. They saw that every project starts as chaos. I don't care where you are." And they were able to pull it together and make it work. And they loved it. They actually showed up to class on time. It was the class that I had the lowest absentee rate. Nobody showed up late. Well, one person did because he was working. He ended up changing his schedule so that he could get there on time. But they worked together. If someone was struggling with getting something done, they jumped in to help, to make sure they stayed on track. At the end, every single student in that class got an A. And that's a first for me. They all mastered the information. I was shocked. So, our future. Project management students decided that next time, they've decided they want more classes like this. They liked it so much, they want more classes in this format. So we talked about what they would change. Well, number one, they would integrate the projects from the beginning as they were doing the textbook reading, so that it would make more sense to them. They want more frequent quizzes so that they're not, "Oh, good Lord," shocked. They loved interacting with the community. I do a lot with the community, but they want more. They want that connection. They want to see how what they do matters. And then they want to make sure people know, if you're in this, you're in it as a team. Show up, do your part. A couple of students in this class have already had the marketing class. The rest are stepping into marketing next term, and they've already started planning the class. I'm a little nervous as to what they're going to come up with. They said, "Is it okay if we meet over the summer?" Yeah. So, and most importantly, they want to keep the potluck. They like that part, that last day. In marketing, they want a student-driven list of project ideas. They want to be able to do that hands-on so that the theory becomes reality. They want them to be big, either one big, multiple little. They want to be able to decide what that involvement includes. They want different mediums, whether it's a website, whether it is working with the newspaper on a series of advertisements, whatever the project is that they want to work on, where their interests are. They took a look at the textbook. They were happy with the textbook. And they want to use it throughout the term. They've already let me know that. I handed them 3 different textbooks. They chose the cheapest one. That wasn't a big surprise. And then, despite the fact that they were so nervous presenting to administration and the community leaders, in fact, one student had to go to the bathroom and throw up before they got going. And says, I can't do this. I said, well, then you fail. He did so good. They want all of the materials, all those projects that they create, they want them published publicly. Either online, in a hallway. That's something that they're going to have to work on this fall. If you want that, what do you mean by that? They have to solve that problem. I'm a little curious about how they're going to do it, but I'm sure they will solve that problem. I have no doubt. So the project was a little vague when I started. I still have my job, yay. It worked out surprisingly well. The students were engaged more than in any class in the history of my program. Well, it's all 3 years of it. And they're excited about continuing next term. Yay. I can't ask for more than that. So I consider that a rousing hurrah for what they did. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your coming to this show. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yes?
So you're saying, the students really failed in that part, in the initial, we only want a midterm. What would you say is the balance between, obviously failure has to be a component, but between letting them fail and guiding them toward best practices? Last semester the students found this. Will you tell that to the next semester, or will you just let them go? Because it feels like you don't want to just abandon best practices because they don't know them yet, but at the same time you have to let them figure out some things on their own. What's the balance for you in the next classes going forward?
Good question, and I'll repeat it so that everyone can hear. Not word for word, because that was long. Sorry. But will you let this next round of students crash and burn as they're learning, or will you give them some heads up about what the students learned this term? It will be their choice. On that last day during the potluck, the students wrote their notes for success and what they would change. So the students next term have the option of opening the envelope and reading those suggestions from the last class, but it will come at a cost of 20 points. They pay me for this, which is basically one assignment. But they don't know that. Was that the 5 or the 10? Okay, thank you. So it will be their decision as to whether they're going to come in blind or whether they're going to come in with some suggestions for success.
Is that for the whole class? Everyone has to agree to do that 20 points, or is it on an individual basis?
It's going to be as a class. Won't that be fun? In the back? Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, will they have to agree as a class whether to open the envelope? And the answer is, yeah. All the way in the back?
2 questions. Do you give them pedagogical
No.
Second question, did you ask?
Wait, do I give them pedagogical information so that they can teach themselves? The answer is no, because they're structuring the class and they're learning in that hands-on. I'm still providing the instruction, just they're deciding the order of the instruction. Okay? And then second question?
Second question, do you bring in someone from the previous semester to come guide them as a TA, or like you said that they write notes, but do you actually ask them to come in and talk about their experience?
I haven't, do I invite someone from the previous term to come in and talk about their experience? I haven't, but that's a good idea. That's something that I might consider, and cool. Yes?
Is this a face-to-face class, or is it sold as a hybrid, or how much, kind of curious, how much of Canvas and like video conferencing you involved in this?
I teach two sections. So how much, number one, is the class online or face-to-face? I teach two sections, fully online, fully on campus. I use Canvas for both as support features. With the online students, they had the option of joining in the synchronous meetings if they were able to. If that did not fit their schedule, then they had the option to be able to contribute via the discussion board, and then their input was involved in those final areas. And then as they met in their teams online, the majority of them used the discussion board. There were some teams, even though they're taking it online, they chose to meet in person, but that was their decision. It was not required. So the majority of them met online and did their work as a subcommittee to be able to move forward. My online students project was for the Chamber of Commerce in Twin Falls, and it was a report of 10 areas or industry areas that are not yet well developed. As we're growing so quickly, where might we want to look toward growth? So they had to research similar cities with similar demographics throughout the country, find 10 areas of business that they felt might do well in the Twin Falls area, and then as a team, write that report, edit that report, present that report. Those that were able to attend signed up for the subcommittee for presentation. It turned out everybody wanted to, so they all presented. And then they still did the white paper as a team and worked that through. Does that answer?
Yeah, so you have identical the class 265 project management. One totally online and one in face-to-face, but they linked a little bit?
No, they're just lots of torture for me. Yeah. Okay. In the back?
You mentioned the students want a place to publish. First, I want to say thank you and bravo.
Oh, thank you.
I love when we get up the students' way and what they create is always surprising to us. We've been seeing a lot of increased student engagement from that. I'm wondering if you might consider asking them to share some of the projects in comments. You said they could do on Canvas Saturday. And it wouldn't mess up your secret envelope thing because students don't have access to comments. But then other teachers, this could spread out virally.
Good.
Being able to see what your students are doing, and it would be a way for them to publish. And you might say you'll get that 20 points back if you publish this.
Very
and
nice.
share your work.
Very nice. So her suggestion was post stuff to Commons, and you got it. Fun. Okay. How much more time do I have? Or 5 minutes. Thank you. Up here?
You mentioned that for the self-selected project, they had a minimum of 7 hours they had to work. When it came to evaluation, what other criteria did you have? Was there a rubric that the students could see?
They did have a rubric, and then they had peer review. And they had to be able to, out of 100% participation, what percentage was your participation? What percentage did your fellow teammates do? And what did each person do to contribute? Where was their support? And I get into a story that from when I was at the University of Oregon working there about how incorrect reviews and don't support learning, and actually ended up with catastrophic results. But they're very blunt, and that's good. And I'm able to use that along with the rubric, along with the group project, and go from there. Uh-huh.
Going off that, in the real world, are group members able to fire other group members?
So the question is, are group members allowed to fire group members? No, because as an entry-level manager, you have all the garbage work and no power. So they're stepping into that. They have to figure out a way to make it work. Yes?
Canvas logistical question. Did you use the groups function for the teams, or did you somehow give them additional capabilities at the course level?
In the online class, when we would meet synchronously, the team lead, I gave them, using WebEx, I gave them control of the Canvas site. And they manipulated and did what should be done, or the project tracker. In the face-to-face, they had the teacher position when we were in the classroom on the instructor podium. When they were away from the class, in their sub-teams, they used the groups area, so the student area of focus. I want to trust them, but you know, I'd take a look at the grades area if it was, let's not go there. So they had a mix of access. Okay. Yes?
Students know that this course had this format when they registered?
Her question is, did students know this course had this format when they registered? Oh, hell no. Oh, heck no. They wouldn't have taken it.
So then how did you keep them on board once they were presented?
I'm the only teacher for the program. Captive audience. But were that not the case, students, word has gotten out that before I became the director for the business management program, I was actually hired as the instructional designer for the college. And any courses that I taught, you were considered a guinea pig, because anything new and fun that I learned that I wanted to play with, you were learning it too. So when I told them I was coming to this conference, I got, oh, okay, what are we going to do this fall? It's like, I don't know yet, but we'll find out. Yes?
How did colleagues in your institution react when you told them you were going to do this, both before you did it and after?
How did my colleagues feel about what I was going to be doing? I didn't tell them. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate your support. Anyway, I didn't tell them. I just did it. And then when they saw the student comments, they said, what did you do? And then I told them, and now this coming fall for in-service, I'll be talking with other faculty about student-led course design. So it worked. Had it not worked out well, I might be asking somebody here for a job. But it worked out well. And we're done? Okay. If you have further questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer. rbagent@csi.edu if you want to connect more, or robinbagent.com. And thank you very much. I appreciate your coming.